Time to talk with James Teague, former Arkansas pitcher and a member of the Teague Law Firm here on a Friday with about a little less than 7 hours until Arkansas and K-State will battle at Globe Life Field. James, good afternoon. How's your week been?
Hey, Phil, good afternoon. Good to be on.
Absolutely, man. Seeing some K-State guys down on the field here. Got to get them back, though. You can't come into this looking at it that way because there's not enough players on the. Look, you got guys on the team from last year that lost to K-State. It's just you can't be worried about anything involving anything like revenge for a game in February because May and February are completely different times.
Yeah, I mean, when those teams knock you out, though, it always feels a little bit different. You know, even if it's a different group of guys or maybe it's not the same group of returners. You know, you're going to want to stick it to that group because, you know, they ended your season.
Was that the same, though? I think the year before I started doing Arkansas baseball, did you guys lose in a regional at Charlottesville? And then I think you played Virginia in the College World Series in 2015. Was that right?
Yeah, so we lost to Virginia. It would have been my freshman year, but they were stacked that year. They had a couple big leaguers. They had some really good arms. And then we ended up losing again to Virginia in 15. They knocked us out the first game out in Omaha. I mean, but they were a team that I think, frankly, at the time, we were just a little bit outmatched with the kind of talent that they had.
Yeah, I remember that was a team that was really difficult to score against, too. And that's also a program. Look, I mean, we talk about the SEC and everything being top of the line, but Virginia's right there, kind of right there as one of the top programs and a front runner to get to the College World Series as well. Hey, James, what'd you think of the team over the first 4 games? 4-0 is a good start.
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed. I think it was kind of as advertised, you know, a couple dynamic players on offense, a little bit of power. You had some really good arms, you know, not only in the bullpen, but also in the starting rotation. You know, Gackle looked great. You know, the other starters looked great. And so I think we got to keep it rolling. I'd like to see how some of that stuff lines up against maybe a little bit better talent, guys who are a little bit more on par, ready to hit. But I thought they looked good.
A lot of strikes. I mean, really a lot of strikes and quality strikes, too. I mean, you know, there's a difference between a strike and a quality strike. I see a staff that has command along with the stuff, and you know, it's those things don't always go together. Sometimes there'll be a couple guys on a team that have command and stuff, and then there's others where they have one or the other. I'm seeing a lot of both, at least for the first weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's seen it where a guy comes in and he's touted as a big stuff guy, a lot of velocity, and there's a couple balls that go to the backstop and you're scratching your head like, oh, no, is this guy going to figure it out, or is there going to be more of this? But, yeah, I think we saw a lot of both. It was the stuff paired with the command. Now, again, maybe some of those guys were chasing a little bit, or maybe they were out stuff, you know, not seeing the breaking ball or not laying off fastballs up. I think especially against Gage Wood, we saw him just dominate the top of the zone. So I think going into this weekend, the big question is, you know, does that stuff play up? Does the command play up? And a little bit of a litmus test to where, you know, we line up with some of the better teams in the country.
Looks like Gage has taken a step forward, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know, you kind of see it in his eyes. He just looked a little bit scared to me before. He looked a little bit unsure, maybe not confident, maybe feeling for it. You know, he came in, he was a high-velocity guy, and I think he started to get a little bit doubtful. We saw the velocity go down. We saw the stuff go down. To me, it looks like he's made that prototypical junior jump where he always had it in there. He's just kind of starting to put the pieces together.
I liked watching Zach Root. I think anybody would like watching Zach Root if you like to watch a pitcher do his thing. And look, he's got stuff, but he's just fun to watch because even David mentioned it. Bubba says this about him, too. You probably had some teammates like this. He's a lefty. But he's also a lefty's lefty. You know what I mean? Just his style of pitching, it looks like the way he carries himself, too.
He kind of reminded me a little bit of like a Carlos Rodon. Like maybe doesn't throw quite as hard, but really good over-the-top breaking ball, kind of had those lefty quirks that you're talking about, but was able to, you know, confidently, you know, command the zone, get guys out. He just kind of looked like he'd been there before.
Were there any weird lefties? And when I say weird lefties, like those lefties in baseball, they wear that as a badge of honor. This is not like you're insulting them. Were there any weird lefties that you remember as teammates at Arkansas?
I don't know many lefties that weren't weird, but there were a couple that were extra weird. We had a guy, Chris Falwell. He was about 6'9", He showed up one day. He said, "I've got a splitter. I've now got a slider, a changeup, and a new curveball." And he didn't quite make the roster, but he had some quirks about him that screamed prototypical lefty.
That's interesting. Matt, we're in football. Do lefties have any kind of a reputation like they do in baseball? Because you even hear it from James there. Bubba's the same way. They just think all lefties are weird in baseball.
It's more of the kickers and punters would be kind of in that category.
That's by the specialists. That's right. That would be the specialists.
But even the lefty QBs, they just throw a little different. There's just something about them coming from the left side.
Just not used to catching it from that side, I guess. What do you think about coming out here to Arlington? This is an annual thing now. Do you guys ever get to play inside a major league park?
Yeah, we played down at Minute Maid a couple times. We had a couple guys, hit some balls over the track and left, and I think they thought they were going immediately to the big leagues. But it's a fun environment to be in when you can go. I mean, we have a great park, obviously, at Baum, but when you can go kind of the next level, you can see, kind of what it looks like at the big league level of what kind of stadiums they play in. And again, to square up against some really good teams, a lot of times early, you've got, a lot of non-conference games. Maybe you're playing schools that don't get outside much, but you're able to square up with teams that, probably also have indoor facilities, have been practicing, and who are ready to go and kind of see where you stand.
One thing I always think about major league parks that are different from a college park, it's the bigness of it all, but it's also better batter's eyes. So I don't think we don't think about that so often. We think about what makes a ballpark a good hitter's park. We're always thinking about which way the wind blows, how short the fence might be down the right field line, something like that. But you talk to hitters, they want a good batter's eye so they can see the ball, and we don't think about that sometimes. Here at Globe Life, they got a good batter's eye.
Yeah, hitters kind of like pitchers, too cloudy, not a good batter's eye, woke up sore, you'll hear it all. But there probably is some truth to that batter's eye to where just picking up spin, I think, especially early on, you see guys making really bad swings. They don't see the spin. I think that's something you can eliminate with a good batter's eye. I got to throw a couple times at Minute Maid, and the weird thing is the backs, it feels so big. There's so much room behind home plate. I always liked it when it was a little bit tighter quarters because it felt like you were a little bit closer to home plate. So that was an adjustment just visually from the pitcher side to get used to. But, we got quite a bit of room at Baum, so it's really not that big of a difference from where we typically play compared to some other places.
It's also a longer walk if Skip takes you out of the game, from the pitcher's mound. Longer walk from striking out from home plate to the dugout, as soon as you want to just disappear. And the next thing you know, you got 15 more steps to take.
Yeah, I mean, when you look over and he's coming out, there's no question you're coming out of the game. Pitching coach comes out, you're like, all right, we're going to work on some stuff. When you see Skip, it's over. So hopefully you've had a good stretch of innings and you can, kind of enjoy that walk back and not have the shameful walk where you got a bunch of guys on and a bunch of runs scored and he's coming out to, more or less put you out of your misery.
Hey, one of the guys that really stood out in terms of just the stuff from this last weekend and made his debut was Carson Wiggins. I think his first 4 pitches were all 99 miles an hour. I think he threw one that was just short by like 1/10 of a mile per hour of 100. He even snapped off a couple breaking balls that completely fooled the plate umpire. And he's going to get chances to close. And as much as we talk about the starting rotation is really deep, it feels to me like the back of the bullpen may be just as deep.
Yeah, I think the arms are there, the stuff's there. Wiggins obviously has the pedigree, from seeing his brother play and the stuff that he had. I think it's just kind of to be determined, who's going to consistently put that stuff together, who's going to throw strikes, who is going to be able to come in leverage situations and have the same stuff, have the same composure and command, week in and week out. That really kind of separates your good arms from your reliable closing arms, throughout the course of the season.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.